Welcome back to TV5 News at 9. It is time now for Education Matters. We are here with Dr. Craig Douglas. Thank you so much for being here. How are you, Dr. Douglas?
I'm well, thank you, Colette. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We definitely need you right now. Today we are talking about school safety. Now, last week Michigan went through such a heartbreaking tragedy with a deadly school shooting at Oxford High School. Now, in the days since, schools have really been on high alert for other possible threats. Dr. Douglas, it's been a tough time for students, for teachers, for families, the entire community. What have you noticed as communities process all of this, Dr. Douglas?
Well, it's beyond tough, Colette.
Yeah.
It makes me flash back to 1999 when Columbine occurred, and I thought to myself then that things would probably never be the same, and yet I could not have envisioned Oxford and all the events in between. School shootings are far too frequent and very, very worrisome for parents and for grandparents like myself.
That's right.
I just have so much respect for our schools and our school leaders and our teachers. It's just a tough era. So communities, I see remarkably pulling together.
Yes.
It reminds me of the dam breaks in Midland almost 2 years ago, where everyone rallied around Sanford Strong. Well, now it's Oxford Strong. We saw the University of Michigan wearing memorial decals on their jerseys. Saturday night, we saw NFL Lions, Vikings players taking moments of silence. So the communities are really pulling together appropriately in response to the tragedy, Colette.
Yeah, and Dr. Douglas, so many people want to know what they can do. What are some things that families can do to really make sure that our schools stay safe?
I think the most important thing on a personal level, and I'm no expert on school safety, that's Tom Meinsberg is our local expert, and others that have studied this field. As an educator, I received the information and tried to implement their suggestions. But on a personal level, the most important thing parents and grandparents can do, I think, is to listen.
Yes.
To listen to their children, pick up cues if they sense there's something out of sorts, either with them personally, or maybe it's a friend or a neighbor or a classmate, and then to act upon it. I think that's probably the biggest game changer, is we need to act upon these clues or cues of people who are perhaps troubled and need help, are crying out for help in many different ways, but we need to act upon that.
Yeah, and I love that you said to listen when your kids have questions. I know my kids had a lot of questions after that, and we just sat down, just open up your ears, listening to let them talk and hear their concerns. Dr. Douglas, whenever there is a school shooting, we are reminded of just how important it is to know what to do in that situation. So many schools have safety drills. Dr. Douglas, how can students really make sure that they're prepared when the worst happens?
Well, I grew up in the era where fire drills were the main drill, and we got sick of them, you know, and we didn't know if it was a real fire or not. We just kind of marched through it without thinking about it. Well, today we've expanded these drills to not only other weather drills like tornado drills, but safety drills, whether it's a drill for shooter in place or whatever. And it's important that students are encouraged to not do what my generation did, but instead to take them very seriously. The announcements that were made in Oxford, for example, likely saved many lives, dozens, maybe even hundreds of lives, because students and staff responded to the drill commands that had been practiced and put in place before. Really until Columbine, schools were very underprepared for such events. Now they're overprepared, the door locks that are in place, et cetera, et cetera. So it's important that students listen to their teacher and teachers and school leaders, and to do what they're told to do. So it's a life-changing, life-saving decision.
Dr. Douglas, you know, those are great tips. It's also very important to report suspicious behavior. So if students notice something concerning, what should they do? They should really not think about snitching, because I know kids think, oh, we can't snitch. No, it really is a matter of life and death now.
Yeah, there was a time, perhaps, Colette, where students felt peer pressure not to say things, not to, quote, get others in trouble. That day is long gone. Students need to report any kind of suspicious or concerning or troubling behavior. I don't know what label to put on it,
Right.
Colette, but anything that seems out of line, they need to tell their teacher, tell the secretary, tell their counselor, tell the school leader, the school principal. I think in the case of Oxford, multiple people were involved and were told, and that's important. Obviously, some clues or cues were either misread or misinterpreted, and that led to the tragedy. However, had it not been pointed out and not had at least an initial, think of what the outbreak might have been if they
Right.
were totally blindsided. So it's important that students do, get that courage, summon up the spirit to report and have confidence in the school leaders that the right result will occur.
Yeah, it's like that saying goes, if you hear something or you see something, make sure you say something. That's so important. Dr. Douglas, anything else that students and families really should keep in mind in the aftermath of this tragedy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard, but we need to keep our hope
Yes.
and our collective spirit of pulling together,
Yeah.
not pulling apart. It's important that we learn from events like this, but that we not find fault left and right. Left and right's not
Yeah.
going to do any good. We need to do all we can to move forward. Arthur Ashe, the tennis great, had a fantastic quote, and it went something like, start where you are and use what you have and do what you can. Well, that's what schools and communities need to do. They need to start right now where we're at. Use all the resources that we can pull together and muster and do everything that we can to address every aspect of school safety.
I love that. That's a great way to end it, a great message. Do everything we can together as one community. Thank you, Dr. Douglas, for this valuable information. We do appreciate you calling in. We need you during this time. Thank you.
Stay safe, Colette. Be well.
You as well, Dr. Douglas. For more information about today's topic, check out the school source page at WNEM.com.